Welcome back to SouFLoTV again, everybody. It is your host with the most. So, Jovenel Moise, the assassinated Haitian president, has been laid to rest. Supporters of the slain president blocked roads and they demanded justice and they threatened to disrupt his funeral. But all this happened a few days before the funeral. They were demanding justice for him. I find it quite strange because leading up to Moise's assassination, there were huge crowds in Haiti. Hundreds, if not thousands, would gather at least once per week to protest, asking for his removal. And now that he was assassinated, there were huge crowds gathering demanding justice. Not only were they demanding justice, they were demanding justice or else. So here we are. The protesters, they were expressing anger against the assassination of the late Haitian president, and they said that it would surely turn into violence. This was right before his funeral. I see a lot of news media, Western news media, reporting that Jovenel Moise's funeral was marred by gunshots and violence, and such is not the case. On the day of the funeral, while the funeral was taking place, there were gunshots being heard on the outskirts of where the funeral was being taken place. It was not like gunshots were being fired at the funeral or anybody was fighting at the funeral. The funeral procession itself was a peaceful one. But you would not be able to tell that by looking at a lot of these news media front pages. But, however, the protesters of slain President Jovenel Moise, according to AP, hindered roads, they blocked the roads, they were demanding justice, and they were threatening. They were actually threatening to disrupt his funeral. Now, I was saying to myself, what good is it if they disrupt his funeral? Wouldn't that be dishonoring him? To stop his funeral while he is being laid to rest. John Jovi, a protester who was standing outside of a church with a group of about 7 to 8 men, threatened more violence if any of the wealthy members of Haiti's elite showed up at Port-au-Prince to this ceremony. These were his words. He said, "We asked them not to come to the funeral. If they come, we will cut their heads off. If they come, we will bring our guns out of hiding. If they come, we will remove their heads. We want justice for Moise," is what that protester said. Now, meanwhile, a police convoy that was carrying arms and ammunition rushed to the funeral site where the protesters were burning tires and getting on loud and crazy on that property. This was before the funeral, but it was at the funeral site. Now, while the other protesters, who seemed to be heavily armed, warned the authorities, saying, "You guys better catch all the culprits and give them real justice as soon as possible. Otherwise, we are going to choose violence in order to secure justice for our slain president." That's what they said. That's the only way, they went on to say, that is the only way that we have to demand justice. If we don't get justice for Jovenel Moise, we will do whatever it takes, including to stop his funeral from happening. Needless to say, that did not happen. The funeral was heavily guarded, heavily secured, and not only was there Haitian security forces at the funeral, there were also foreign security forces at the funeral as well. When I looked at the First Lady, Martine Moise, giving her speech about how she has come to pay her last respects to her husband, her longtime friend, and the love of her life, and she talked about how he swept her off her feet and how he impressed her and all this. And I looked to her left, right behind her, I looked to her right, and I saw two white men. And this, being a person of the Caribbean diaspora, I myself can say this. It seems as if we always need white people. The only time we are able to excel, the only time we are able to secure ourselves, the only time we are able to govern and master our own affairs, it seems like we need white people to help us to do so. In other words, what the picture is showing, what I am getting from watching her give her final speech, the eulogy, her goodbye to her husband, the assassinated president. Seeing these two white men there tells me that she does not trust anybody there. She certainly does not trust any of the forces within Haiti. I don't know if these guys are French, but they seem to be American. If you follow the other videos that I covered before, one of them was the same guy that got off the plane with her from the US after she went to the hospital in the United States of America to get some medical attention because she too was shot when they assassinated her husband at their private residence. Let's not forget, there were more than 20 Haitian police officers on duty around the property when Jovenel was assassinated. And Martine Moise already said that when it started, they all disappeared. They all left him. If you watch our previous video, it says he spent the last 10 minutes of his life begging to people who were in authority and in positions of power to do something, to come and save my life, was his exact words. Come and save my life. And they failed him miserably. They failed him miserably because it was a plot, and they were all a part of it. It's that simple. I wouldn't want to see his funeral interrupted by those who support him, because it would be dishonoring him. Let him now be laid to rest. He was assassinated and he was done in such brutal manner. At least let him now be laid to rest. And then if they feel like they need to escalate things in order to get justice for him, then that so be it to them. Let them handle that way. Now, on July 7th, the Haitian President Jovenel Moise, who ruled Haiti for more than 4 years, was assassinated at his private home during a highly coordinated attack by an extremely trained and heavily armed group. His wife, Martine Moise, who was injured in the attack, she returned after being released from a hospital in Miami on Sunday. And now, at least 4 days after she returned, the First Lady and her children attended a small religious ceremony to pay their last respects. So they kind of had a private viewing before this public funeral viewing that we saw. The media was there at the private viewing. They tried to question her. They were asking questions. Are you not afraid, Martine? Why did you come back so early? Do you think that your life is in danger as well? She did not answer any of their questions. And rightfully so. The woman is grieving. A lot of people are saying she is a strong, brave queen. And I'm starting to see her in that light. A strong, brave queen. It takes more than guts to say to yourself, I know my life is in danger. They just killed my husband. I don't know who did it exactly, but they might be after me too. But do I honor this man by returning and making sure he gets a proper send-off? Or do I go into hiding and run? And she decided to return to lay her husband to rest. Plus, I'm pretty sure she is deeply rooted in Haiti. She is Haitian born and raised. Her whole family and extended family are there. So going through something like this, it would be very hard to go into exile and be hidden somewhere by yourself. She chose to be surrounded by family. She has children that she had to be there to comfort. As much as she herself needed comforting, she understands the role of a mother, and she felt the need to be there to comfort them as well. We grieve, but we grieve together, is what her message is for me. Rest in peace, Jovenel Moise. You came, you saw, you conquered. It's only a pity that there are always our own that are willing to sacrifice the greater ones for dollars and cents. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Would you have returned to lay your husband to rest if you were her? Or would you have ran away and kept it moving? Think about that before you really answer that. Catch you on the next video as we continue to follow this. And I hope you saw the video about Dominique Coven, a CEO of an arms company in the United States of America, who has recently been arrested. Go watch that video as well. The rabbit hole continues to get deeper, even as Jovenel has been laid to rest. I'm out. Peace.